All right, tonight we're looking at why xenophobia has been trending on Twitter today and why KwaZulu-Natal lawmakers are concerned about growing xenophobic violence in the province. Yesterday, members of the Umkhonto Sizwe Military Veterans Association were implicated in forcefully shutting down the shops of some foreign nationals. The protesting MKMVA members clashed with police. The provincial legislature speaker, Nontembeko Boyce, is quoted as saying that the high levels of unemployment in KwaZulu-Natal and in Durban, where this has been playing out, has resulted in some citizens using foreign nationals as scapegoats for their economic woes. To discuss, we're joined now by the co-executive director of Sonke Gender Justice, that's Reverend Bafana Khumalo. Reverend, thank you for being with us. Your organization always concerned about xenophobia or potential xenophobia. Just start by telling me what you know about the situation in KwaZulu-Natal today.
Well, we're quite concerned, as you have pointed out in your intro, about the developments in KwaZulu-Natal. Of course, the raiding of businesses owned by foreign nationals living in South Africa by ostensibly members of the MKMVA is quite concerning. It's concerning because, as we all know, we have seen a build-up, at least in the last few months, of the rhetoric that was aimed at foreign nationals. The bigger question we are having is, what has the state done? Because this is not something that should be surprising any of us. We have been hearing a lot of rumblings by members of this entity. There are two issues of concern to me. One is the government.
What entity, Reverend? The MKMVA?
The MKMVA, yes. I mean, you would know that there's been closure of national roads, harassment of truck drivers, which has been happening now for a couple of months. And in the rhetoric of the group, they have always been making, snide remarks about the presence of foreign nationals in our country. Now, it's unfortunate for us. I was saying the two concerning matters is that the MKMVA belongs to the ruling party of this nation. I am appalled that we have up to now not heard much from the ruling party condemning this kind of behavior. And it is quite concerning because it really reduces our country, one, into a banana republic, but also undermines international protocols that we have signed, committing ourselves to how we treat immigrants and refugees in South Africa.
And there's always a debate, Reverend, about the rhetoric. In your mind, is this clearly xenophobia targeted against foreign nationals specifically?
I think we need to be frank about this. Part of our problem in this country is that we always mask these kinds of behaviors as just criminal. And I think that, for me, is part of the problem, because as long as we are not diagnosing the problem correctly, we will never come up with correct solutions. And by the way, this is not the first time that we've seen such an outbreak in KwaZulu-Natal, particularly in the Durban area. A few years ago, we had similar, and a lot of foreign nationals were rounded up, many were assaulted, and their businesses were destroyed. And they lived in tents, in stadiums for many, many months. And so this is returning. And the bigger question is, what early warning signals have government put in place to ensure that they are able to deal with these eventualities when they arise? Because you can't always be surprised when some things like this are happening, when we have supposed to have criminal intelligence operating every day in this country. What are they doing?
Yeah. Well, from what you know, I mean, if you compare the situation now to then, how volatile is it right now? And under what degree of threat are you if you're a foreign national living or maybe having a business in the Durban CBD?
This is worrying because our worry at Sonke and with other civil society organizations that we've been talking to throughout the day is not just about Durban now, because we know once such outbreaks begin, it's likely to spread to other areas. You will be aware that some politicians have been uttering very unsavory remarks themselves. There's a policy in Gauteng that is being introduced, which in our view contributes to this kind of behavior. So we fear that,
can you explain that,
as people see this kind of... Well, the Premier of Gauteng has actually been on record that they are going to introduce a new regulation that forbids foreign nationals for running businesses in the township. And it's preposterous that a political party that should know better has been themselves in exile and been housed under very difficult conditions should be considering policies like this that are anti-human rights, that are really undermining the right of people to make a livelihood for themselves. I find it quite astounding that, in fact, in the 26 years of our democracy, we have landed in this kind of environment with such toxic policies. Yeah. It really cannot be the South Africa that we have been hoping for.
What do you want from a responsible government and a responsive police force?
Well, we would expect that the police force should always be on the ready, and we are paying a lot of men in uniform, and I have great respect for them. But some things like this cannot just happen with the police being caught unawares. When some things like this happen, there's always rumblings, there are always indicators that there's going to be an outbreak of this nature. The bigger question we are asking is, why were the police not able to stall and stop such an occurrence happening in the first place? Now, lives of people have been messed up, they've been destabilized, the families have been thrown asunder, and it cannot be part of who we are as South Africa. It really causes a lot of blemish on our record as a democratic state.
You mentioned, the support from Africa during apartheid times for the ANC, for example. There's also research that says that immigrants can be good for the economy. Often they can help grow the economy. They're often entrepreneurial. They create jobs. This whole idea that they steal jobs, is this about a lack of education, or is it about, like you say, policymakers being irresponsible themselves, fanning the flames? What is going on here, and how can it be dealt with sort of in the hearts of the people who feel right now threatened or maybe hateful towards foreign nationals?
Truth be told, this is a result of failures of our government policies economically, because indeed when the poor are having to scramble for markets in depressed economies, people look at each other as enemies because that's the people you see in front of you. The truth of the matter is that many foreign nationals in this country are actually creating jobs. They are providing services. They are in our hospitals. They are teaching our children, and many of them come with extraordinary skills, but it's always those at the lower end that are also struggling to make ends meet and make out a living in the most fairest of way by simply trying to put food on the table for their children and ensure that they're not dependent on everybody. South Africans, we are very strange. People have always been complaining during COVID, why should foreign nationals be getting the COVID grant? They are dependent on our fiscus, which is depressed. But we also don't want them to make a living. I don't understand. You can't have it both ways. Our Constitutional Court has made very important rulings on this matter. Anybody who is in the soil of our country needs to be provided all the support like any other human being, because at the basis of our Constitution is that we believe in our humanity, Ubuntu. And therefore, we cannot treat foreign nationals as if they are not human beings. It can't be. It can't be when we ourselves have been at the receiving end for almost 5 decades of apartheid rule. We cannot be treating fellow Africans in such a bad manner.
All right, we appreciate your time tonight. We'll follow the happenings in KwaZulu-Natal. Sonke Gender Justice, very concerned. That was the co-executive director, Reverend Bafana Khumalo.